There we go.
Ah, there you are. Hello. I
You look so cute.
Oh, I was thinking the same about you. And we also...
Well, it might be the...
we both like our twinkly lights too. Have you got twinkly lights?
By the way, I got my nails done.
Inspired by you. Let me see yours again.
They're like really, really dark purple.
Lovely. They look beautiful. Whose connection is this? Is that mine or yours? Is it me again?
Let's just wait a second because the call to prayer is happening, and sometimes it causes a little kind of lag.
Okay. How's that?
So we'll see. I'm working on a new project right now with these.
Oh my goodness, what are they?
They're stucco patterns from like 9th century. They're carving and they're impressions.
And 9th century, where from? Where?
Samara from Iran. From Iraq, sorry.
Fascinating. So how did you discover those? What led you to those?
Well, we're working on an introduction to Islamic art through Virginia Commonwealth University, and there's 2 of us teaching the course, and basically we're going to attempt to show through the Umayyads and the Abbasids how the foundation of Islamic art happened.
Resume. Right, so off we go. Best of luck to you both.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to admit all, and then as soon as we get everyone in, then there we go. Hello, everyone. I accidentally muted you, Ayesha. Give me 1 second. You can unmute yourself now. Sorry.
Good evening. Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Hello. Okay, I'm opening. Let's see here.
It's nice to see familiar faces or familiar
Exactly. Lots of familiar faces. Okay. I'm trying to multitask. I was looking for that tile we were just talking about. I think it's in here too.
Is it?
Let's see. I think so. I've seen it many times, so I'm having a. Do you see what's going on in the meeting? Do you see how the same name is repeated many, many, many times?
Yes, that's very strange. Yes, I can see that.
I don't know. I think it's just a glitch. It must be. Okay, so let me spotlight. And then there we go. So there's 2 of us for now, for the moment. Hello. Oh, from Utrecht. Welcome. From Karachi. You're up late. That's definitely sure. Okay. So let me get this going.
Is everyone in?
I think so.
Charlotte, is it possible for you to keep doing the admit all because I can't see both at the same time? Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and you guys can see my 6,000 tabs open.
You're busy.
Welcome
lady.
to my life.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
I think, yeah, tab queen, exactly. Now I feel like you guys are seeing into my into my mind.
I think we're all like
All right. So,
Okay.
so everyone, welcome to workshop number 3, Beautiful Beasts, with our wonderful artist Ayesha Gamiet, and with myself, Laurelie. And we have Charlotte here with us also from Leighton House, who is wonderfully organizing these inspired by Islamic art classes, which is fantastic. And we get access to their beautiful collection too. So I won't say much more. I just have one more slide to look at. Just a reminder to keep for the moment, keep your camera off. And I have muted everyone for the time being, just so that the bandwidth doesn't get too small. And then please use the chat box. I'm monitoring it. Also, I will be putting, for example, today, probably some book suggestions, because we're looking at some Islamic tiles. And I can answer your questions. I will do them as fast as I can possibly answer. And if you haven't gotten an answer, please send me a private direct message, and I can do it that way too. Okay, so I'm gonna stop the share. Do you have a presentation to show or no?
I do not have a presentation this time because we have quite a lot of painting and drawings to get through.
Sure.
So I think we're going to go pretty much straight into the practical. So welcome everyone. There's nothing else to show, is there, before we start?
Okay.
No.
Welcome everyone to Beautiful Beasts. We're going to be looking at tiles from Leighton House and from elsewhere. So I hope that everyone has got the worksheets this time and that you're all prepared. So just very quickly to run through, you should all have a sheet with some Leighton House tiles on there. And this sheet as well. Don't worry if you couldn't print them out in colour, that's fine. And then there are also some of my drawings. So there should be a sheet like this with sort of two sets of birds, a pair of ducks, and then another bird on the side. And then individual sheets as well, like this, one like this, and one like that. So the reason I have so many drawings is because I'd like you to choose for yourself what you'd like to do. So if you'd like more of a challenge, I would say the smaller birds are a bit more challenging to paint. If you'd like to do something a bit bigger, then I would go for either this one or the birds on this sheet. So if you take a look at the handouts that you've been given, and you'll see that the ducks come from this sheet over here, whereas the single bird comes from this tile from Leighton House. So you can pick which one you'd like to work with for the session. And obviously you could continue after the session as well if you wanted to carry on. And then we'll take it from there. So I've got one bird that I painted before just to show you. So I'll be kind of talking through this as we go, but I'm going to be painting the pair of ducks. So people who choose this bird, you'll have this to follow. And if you choose the ducks, then I'm going to be doing that with you, but I'll talk through this as well. Okay, so maybe just spend a couple of minutes or choosing which design you want to work with. Once you're ready, you can take a piece of tracing paper . Have your design ready. So this is my one that I'm going to work with. Take the tracing paper, lay it over the surface of your photocopy like this. And just using your HB pencil, we're just going to trace around the outline of these two birds, or if you're doing the single bird, you'll be tracing the single bird, either the small one or the big one. So if you've taken these workshops before, you'll probably be a bit familiar with the method that we use to trace and then transfer our designs onto watercolor paper.
We have a question here for you, Ayesha, right out of the gate. One of the students is asking, do you soak your watercolor paper before using it?
No, I don't do that. I sometimes stretch my paper if I'm using a lot of water on there and if I want it to be flat. So in that case, I would have a board underneath, and I wouldn't soak it. I would just brush clean water over the top with like a large paintbrush, and then I'd use gum strips. Which I'd wet and then secure the edges of the page, but I don't tend to immerse like the whole paper in water. No, I don't do that. For this though, we don't need to because we're not going to wet the entire surface of the paper, so we don't need to stretch it. Hope that answers the question.
I think it does, yeah. I like these ducks.
They are lovely, aren't they? Such beautiful shapes. I had to really enlarge them on the photocopy, and then try and sort of pick out the main lines and then simplify them for everyone. But hopefully they should make really beautiful paintings. So I actually have got a pair red traced from before. So this is what your work should look like when it's on the tracing paper. So either you'll have chosen the ducks or the single bird here. I'm not sure what bird this is. I think it might be, it could be a parakeet or something like that.
A parrot.
A parrot, yeah, maybe. I think it's quite stylized though. So you'll either have this design or this one here on your tracing paper. Take your time because the tracing is quite an important phase.
Do you want me to share some information about the duck tile?
Yes, that would be great.
Sure. Okay, so the duck tile, so the hexagonal tile, it's from 1540 to 1550. So basically the height of the Ottoman Empire and the production of Iznik ware. And it was produced in Iznik. So this is an underglazed tile. It's a tash karo, which means a stone paste tile made from ground up quartz and silica. So it's a little different than ceramic. It's not exactly ceramic. Let me see here. Yeah, it shows a pair of two ducks with large flowers and leaves curving around them. and it's only blue and turquoise, which is interesting because at this time period, a lot of the works have red in them, but I think this one probably just is on the cusp of the introduction of red into the tiles.
I quite like the simple palette actually on this tile.
Let's see here. It says it's a tile that originally decorated the walls of a bathhouse in Istanbul, built for the famous Admiral Barbaros. I didn't know this actually. This is new to me. In the West, and Barbaros Hayreddin Pasha in Turkey. This is Chinli Hamam. I don't know if it exists anymore. Chinli Hamam.
So this is
I know Chinli Jami is under a large amount of restoration, or I think it may have just recently opened. I'm curious if Chinli Hamam was close to the mosque. Yeah, it says here the building was sold in the 19th century and most of the tiles were removed. And it's thought that perhaps Leighton may have bought some of the tiles in his 1867 trip to Istanbul, or perhaps from a Paris dealer who acquired them in 1874.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's interesting how, you know.
Are you familiar with that bathhouse, Laurelie?
Well, that's the thing is, I wonder if it's been converted. I'm gonna check right now. In my thousands of tabs that were open, I actually had a thing open for an archive in Istanbul. Let me see. To prevent me from screaming at my husband to see if he knows. Let's see. Chinli Hamam. And for those of you who don't know what a hammam is, it is a bathhouse, which, it does still exist. Oh, wow. Oh, interesting. But you can tell that, yeah, it's still a function. Put link into the Zoom, but please, probably you're not going to be so inspired. They have, you know, current tiles, you know. Let's see here. I've got a question here saying, are the taş karo stronger than ceramic? They're more dense, so most likely they are stronger. If it's earthenware, then it's not fired to a high temperature, which means it's going to be weaker. So it depends on a couple of different situations there. And Charlotte just shared here that this tile is in the Narcissus Hall that deliberately evokes water and reflections, which is really interesting that that tile was from a bathhouse too. It's a nice,
very nice touch.
Yeah.
So I've finished tracing now. I don't know how far you are, the rest of you, but don't worry if you're not at this stage yet, because you've got time. Next stage is for me to transfer my tracing onto my watercolor paper. So what I'm going to do is take a sheet of my watercolor paper like this. I take my tracing and I turn it so that the pencil side is against, to make sure that your design comes through okay. So like this. So this side here has got pencil on it, and I have to make sure that it's touching the watercolor paper. If it's the wrong way round, your design won't transfer correctly. And so just begin redrawing over those lines. So before I go too far, what I'm going to do is just flip the tracing paper over a little bit and just check that everything is coming through. And that's fine because the feathers from the tail have come through onto the paper. The line shouldn't be too heavy, so not black, just heavy enough for you to see it. But we don't want it to be very heavy and black because we don't want the pencil to show through once you've added the colour, the paint. And if you want to, of course, you can paper clip or tape your tracing paper in place. Talking through this. There any other questions while we're tracing?
Yeah, I just got one new one. Do you ever use the spoon rubbing method to transfer?
Yes, that's the quick method. I do sometimes, well, actually not very often because most of my work is very fine. And I find that that method is not so good when you want to be neat with your lines. I mean, we could use it in this case if you wanted to, if you're in a rush. But I prefer to redraw because it's more precise, number one. And two, it gives your hand practice at making the shapes. So that by the time you come to make them with the paintbrush, you're already familiar with what shapes you have to make.
We have here, how would this have been historically done? Not for the ceramics, but more so for your illumination.
Is that referring to the tracing or?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, to the tracing, yeah.
So there are several methods of tracing which are quite ancient. So one thing that they used to do was they would have the design on paper and then they would pinprick. So they would put little holes in the paper where the lines of the design were. And then they would rub pigment over the surface of the paper. So pigment is like pure color, but usually from earth minerals or plant extracts. So maybe an earth pigment. And when you rub that over the surface of the paper and then remove the paper, the pigment is left underneath and it shows you where to put the design. But there's also very ancient methods of carbon paper, like called pigment paper, where you can also rub pigment on the surface of a piece of paper, turn the paper over so that the pigment is facing whatever you want to transfer the design on, and then draw your design over the top, and you've effectively made a type of carbon paper by just using natural pigments.
If one is based in London, where could a beginner wanting to learn illumination take classes?
Oh, that's a good question.
Shameless segue.
Plugging the Princess School for Traditional Arts, which is where Laurelie and I both graduated from for our masters, but as well as offering postgraduate courses, they also offer workshops and courses for the public. There's a public program. And there are many illumination courses taught both by me and by other teachers as well as courses in ceramics and miniature painting and all kinds of aspects of traditional arts. So that's the Princess School for Traditional Arts.
There's also if you're, I mean, right now it's a little difficult because everything is locked down again. Well, I mean, at least where I am, we're in a proverbial state of lockdown, but there are some teachers teaching online, like Ayesha, for example. There are some other teachers in other countries teaching as well. So do a little research, because I mean, each student, I don't know, maybe I'm, how long is the MA course? I'm assuming at the Princess School, and that's 2 years.
I think this person is just looking for short courses, though, aren't they?
I'm not sure. This is what someone direct messaged me with.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So the question is, do you use size on your paper? And if you do, what type? And do you burnish the paper before painting on the illumination?
Yes, for illumination, I do use paper size. So just for people who don't know what that is, paper size is, it's like a coating that we put over the surface of the paper to make it smoother to work on. Because when I do illumination work, I use very small brushes, very fine brushes. And if the paper is too rough, the bristles of the brush can get caught in the paper. So paper size is something that we put over the paper to make it smooth. There are lots of different kinds of size you can use. One of the most common ones I use is made from flour, water, powdered alum, and a pinch of salt, which you boil together, and it comes to a consistency a bit like wallpaper paste. And when it's cool, you can spread it over the surface of the paper. And then when it's dry, you can burnish the paper. So burnishing means polishing the paper. And I show you, I've got it here. This is a paper burnisher. So it's made from agate, which is a semi-precious stone. And you rub it over the surface of the paper that's been sized. And it just makes it really nice and smooth and a very, very lovely surface to work on. But aside from making the paper smooth, the paper size and the burnishing also makes it easier for you to correct your mistakes. Because if you make a mistake, you have a layer of size on top of the paper, so that if you have to lift anything off or if you have to scrape anything away, you're not scraping the paper directly. It just makes the paper a little bit stronger. But for this kind of work, we don't need a paper size because the shapes are quite big. They're not very fine, small illumination work. So I'm almost done now with my ducks. Just the head and the beak and the eyes to go. Okay, and there we go. So now when I lift away the tracing paper, there is my design. So just double check, see that you haven't missed anything. And if you have, you can just replace the tracing on top and go over the line, or you can draw it freehand. Okay, so how far is everyone with the tracing? Can we check? Maybe.
Yeah, in the chat box, let me know if you guys need more time or if you're done. Just takes a minute. Just finished. Maybe 1 more minute. It seems like most people are done.
1 more minute then, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
So I'm going to move these out of the way. And Find the sheet.
I saw one student say they did the tracing, but it didn't transfer. So one of two things happened. Either you didn't flip the paper, unfortunately, that sometimes happens, or the pencil you're using is too hard, meaning it's an H or a 2H, and you need something more like a B or a 2B if you have, or even an HB. But if it's got an H or 2H, then it's probably not transferring.
So I'm just trying to arrange my table so that you can see everything that you need to see for the next bit. So once you've finished transferring your work, you can take out your watercolors or your gouache. So take out your paints and your brushes and your water. Now I'm going to be working on the ducks, but I'll try and explain to you what we're doing on the parrot as well. So I'm going to just, I'm going to stick to Islamic colors, but feel free if you want to use red or purple or orange or green or whatever colors you like, go ahead and do that if you have extra colors. We're going to start by putting a wash over the birds. So if you've got the sheet here, just this light blue, we're going to wash it over the wings and most of the body, but not where it's dark blue. You've got this sort of dark blue band around the chest, around here, just over most of the body and the wings and the head.
Are you using a size 2 or?
What size is this? Yes, this is a size 2.
Let me know when I can share some information about the parrot tile.
About that?
The parrot tile. The bird panel, not the duck panel.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay. Let's see here. I had a question. Let me see. Actually, maybe.
I'm going to just mix a pale blue. So it doesn't really matter which blue you choose. It's just about having it at a very watery consistency. So you can use an ultramarine blue, you could use a cobalt, you could use a Prussian blue, turquoise, or any other color for that matter. So this is the sort of consistency of my wash. And if you're doing the parrot, you're going to wash over the body here and then choose a darker color to wash over the wing. Okay. So here we go.
All right. So, wow. I've got a question here. I'm not exactly sure if it's in your domain, but I'm going to ask it anyways. The question is in regards to the invisible shading method used in miniature painting.
Right, okay.
But I don't have the question exactly. So what would you like to ask Ayesha about the shading method in miniature painting? I'm just waiting for them to write something.
In the meantime, I did see something pop up in the chat about using a light box for tracing.
Yeah.
Of course, that's absolutely fine as well. It's just that for a lot of the papers we use for illumination, at least, they can be quite thick or they can be on a board, in which case a light box wouldn't work for that. But if it's just watercolor paper like this, yeah, a light box is fine too.
Mm-hmm. Well, we haven't gotten any. She's asking to see your technique, but I mean, that's a completely different subject matter.
That's a different workshop, unfortunately.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we can't really demonstrate that because we are doing something completely different today. I'm going to take this chance to talk about the parrot panel.
Yes.
So it says here, several of the tile panels in the Arab hall are decorated with vases filled with lavish bunches of flowers. In this scene, 2 blue vases filled with tulips, roses, and irises are placed within a flower-filled garden. Although all is not peaceful, if you look at the bottom, you can see various birds and animals are depicted amongst the flowers, and some of them are under attack. In the upper half, 2 falcons have their claws sunk into the back of 2 captured pigeons. Actually, so they're saying that the one I told you was a parrot. They're calling that a falcon, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Interesting, yeah. But I was thinking now, a parrot wouldn't eat a pigeon, would it? Let's see here. Let me continue. They are placed around 2 parrots drinking at a fountain, the base of which is painted with fishes and crabs, which is interesting. I didn't notice the crabs in this one. Oh, I see it now. I see it now. A diminutive figure to the right of the fountain casts his fishing rod at one of the fish painted on the sides, while large rabbits play beside him. Oh, I see the little man now. It's funny, as much as I've looked at these, sometimes you still miss things.
Yes, that's true.
This panel was produced in Damascus at the same time as the garden scene, with the fish tank possibly in the same workshop. A number of tiles were missing or broken, and these were replaced by William de Morgan. Although the outline of the left-hand parrot and lion are identical to those on the right side, a slight difference in color is visible. And that's true. That's interesting because in another, so if you took the classes that I gave in November, one of the handouts I gave had the parrots depicted in them, and also those parrots in that kind of arch detail, they've been restored by William de Morgan too. I wonder, I guess we can find out from Charlotte if he has I keep wanting to say renovated, restored other pieces. That would be interesting to know. And she said, falcon tail, not a parrot tail. Yeah, that's true.
So just for people working on the falcon, if you wash the body and the legs in a pale blue, the wing in a dark blue, or you can choose whichever colors you prefer. And then I've put a wash as well of a green on the tail, but again, you can choose your own color. And then a wash for the legs and the claws and the beak. And for people working on the ducks, so you can see where I've put the wash now. I'll just hold this way around. I'm going to make a darker blue now and wash that sort of around the front of the body of the ducks and part of their legs as well. This is a lapis blue. And there's a bit of turquoise already in my palette, so I'll just see what happens when I mix them together.
Oh, and I just got news from Charlotte, and it says that the recordings of the classes I gave in November should be going up on YouTube in the next few days. So That's good. So if you didn't get a chance to take those at the time, those will be available along with Ayesha's classes.
So this is the colour I'm making, and I'm going to wash this so it's a bit more concentrated than the first colour, which means that there is a bit more colour in there and a bit less water.
Let me see if I missed any questions. No, I think we're good right now.
So be careful when you come to the little the edges, especially with the small leaves.
Ayesha, is it possible to move the ducks a little bit forward? Just a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you.
This is a good question and kind of funny. It says, on the duck image, there's only one pair of legs. Which duck do they belong to?
Oh, that's very sweet. I think they belong to the one in front because I guess the one behind has its legs hidden somewhere, or maybe they just didn't work out very well for the composition.
Yes, this is what we call artistic license.
Yes, exactly.
I'm just answering Margarita's here. Yes, my workshops will be on YouTube, but I believe, and Charlotte, correct me if I'm wrong, it's going to be under Leighton House, correct? And Farkhanda, I'm going to ask Ayesha. So that's a confirmation yes from Charlotte. So the blue that you're using, the darker blue, is it a less diluted of the original, or is it a completely different color?
It's a completely different color, but it's also less diluted. So I've used ultramarine blue, and I've mixed it with a couple of other blues. I think a turquoise as well is one of them. But don't worry, you don't have to have exactly the same color as me. In fact, you don't have to use blues at all if you don't want to.
I was recently today, I saw something with ducks and they were completely yellow and their beaks were blue. It was a Persian tile panel. So, I mean, many different ways you can go.
Yeah, well, I mean, ducks are generally not blue anyway.
Exactly. Or yellow for that matter.
No, it's okay. We can use our imaginations.
Okay. Let's see here.
So I'm going to maybe take a little bit more of a turquoisey colour for the leaf. Now, if you're working on the bird, and you may have finished your washes by this point, what you could do is mix up just a few more darker colours of blue, and hopefully your wing should be dry by now, and the body should be dry. And just in these sort of, where I've put shading, you can just mix up a few darker shades of blue and put them randomly throughout the wing, and it will give you this lovely shaded effect if you want to. I've made a turquoisey, greeny, bluey colour, which I'm going to use for the leaf and just the last few parts of the bird.
Sorry, I hope you guys can't hear.
No, we can hear.
Yeah, you can. Okay, I'm gonna.
It's making me nostalgic for Istanbul.
Sorry, I had to turn my sound off for a minute because someone was having a moment. So one of the questions is what beasts are usually drawn? Are there any tigers? I listed a few. So tigers, leopards, lions, deer, fish, dolphins, cows, mystical creatures. I know I'm forgetting lots.
Do you see, because I see mostly birds in the tiles. In the manuscripts, I've seen a lot of deer and yeah, and big cats basically, leopards and things. Yeah, and quite a big variety, but mostly in the tiles, I mostly see birds. But I'm curious to know.
In Topkapı, just outside of the Sünnet pavilion, there are deer. And in each of the animals have, yes, peacocks, thank you very much. Okay. Turtles, yes, that's true. What was I going to say? A lot of the animals have some kind of significance, especially because the animals and figures weren't used in sacred context usually. Yes. They were usually had an imperial context to them. For example, Chintamani. Chintamani is kind of like, you'll see like 3 circles in a triangular form, and then these wavy lines beside it. Yeah. And that is symbolic of tiger stripes and leopard spots, which was a motif associated with Genghis Khan, which is also how, you know, the Turkic tribes kind of still associated themselves with at the time as having that lineage. So there's a few different renditions on that. I remember asking Paul at PSTA what the symbolism of that meant, and I'm I'm not going to repeat that because I thought it was interesting. But but maybe one day when you get a cup of coffee into me, I'll share.
Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, it just was, yeah, bizarre. What else? Lots of different kinds of birds for sure.
Fish as well, actually.
Yes, that's true. Crabs, and then the mystical creatures. That's really interesting in that. One second. I'm cutting my line of thinking here. Can I ask, is it rare to see human and animal depictions on Islamic ware? If so, why is that? It's actually not rare. It depends on when and for what reason the Islamic ware was made. So one thing to remember is a lot of Islamic ware were not made for sacred purposes. They were made for the sofra, for the, what is sofra in English? Is there anyone Turkish? For the feast table. So, you know, there wasn't necessarily a sacred kind of connotation to that. And also the people who were making Islamic ware and who were buying Islamic ware weren't necessarily Muslim either. So there was different communities. So you get things that were made for the Armenian community, for the Jewish community that also existed here. A lot of those you will get figures on them, faces. I believe at Leighton House there's also some panels of like miniature figures on ceramic, and I believe those were, they may have been Safavid, but they may have also been late Kütahya, late Iznik. So there's lots, even the work that comes from Kütahya a little bit later gets really interesting because the work isn't what you would say as high quality as what you would find in Iznik, but they're still quite quirky and entertaining, to say the least.
Just talk one quickly as I finish. Sorry, Laurelie, to interrupt.
No.
Finish applying the wash to my ducks now. So you can see there is the first shade that we started with goes over the body, most of the body, and the head and the wings. Then there is a darker shade that goes around the front of the body and some of the head, and part of the leg as well. And then I've taken a sort of a turquoise for the leaf, and the beaks and the feet. And if you're working on this one, so you may by now have added a bit of shading onto the wing, you can do exactly the same thing with the tail. So whatever color you've used for the tail, just try making a few tones, either a bit lighter, a bit darker, and shading them randomly in these little sort of rectangular, I think they look a bit like tiles, but these little feathers in the tail.
I really like that tail. It's really nice.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So we have a few minutes before we go for a break. But what we can do now is we can start with some of the outlining. So if you have a smaller brush, I recommend you use a smaller brush for this. And what we're going to do is take more or less the same color as before, but just a bit more concentrated and outline with the brush. So for me, that will be this color here.
We're having a request to see if you can move your ducks up again.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Actually, just a little bit towards the center, because there's a shadow cast on that side where your arms are.
Oh, so this way?
No, other way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, perfect. A little bit better.
So same color, but just a bit more concentrated with a bit less water, and use a smaller brush as well. And if you want to, you can do a few practice lines on the side. So I like to just practice with my brush first. And now we're going to go around the edge.
As I was saying before, some of the animals do have symbolic meanings. I'm just remembering here, there's a new panel that Charlotte just sent me, and there's something written about the heron. The heron, I believe, is mentioned in the conference for the birds. I believe so. So there's a lot of artwork in the Islamic world is layered culturally and with literature, as well as with the religion too. So sometimes it's, you know, peeling back the layers and understanding each layer that's important.
Laurelie, may I just interrupt you for a second just to quickly show
Mm-hmm.
you?
I'm done anyways. Mm-hmm.
Thanks. So just so you can see a bit more closely, this is the outline that I've done. So the line is quite consistent. It's the same width, the same weight all the way around, just a bit darker. And it just sharpens everything and brings it into focus.
Is it that same color you
Yes.
did the dark area with, or no?
Yeah, the same color. It's the dark color on here, but it's just a bit more concentrated, that's all. So if you're working on the falcon, right, then it's the same principle as well. Just take the same color that you use for the wash, but concentrate it a bit more so that there's less water and more color. And as the falcon is a bit simpler, if anyone has finished, you can always start a new one and try the ducks. So just a few more minutes and then we're going to take a break. So everyone, it's 6 o'clock, so we're halfway through. We'll take a 10-minute break and then be back here at 6:10. So get up, stretch your legs, make a cup of tea or coffee, and enjoy the break. And thank you for your hard work and for playing, for being with us this evening. And I'll see you at 6:10. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Just send me a message when you want me to turn you back on, okay?
Oh, thank you, Laura. I think some people have asked that the camera stays on above the drawing.
Okay, no problem. I have that spotlighted. If you want your face, then I can do that.
Okay, thanks. I'll just turn it off.
Okay. I'm seeing the comment about I went to CASART after last week's session and spent a lot of money. I'm sorry. What can I do? Let's see here. Gallery view. Okay. Well done. Well done. The best watercolor brushes for me are, I go through a few different ones. There's a brand called Rubloff, the Russian brand that I really, really like. And I'm writing them in the comment section, and I don't know where you can get them in the UK. Then I use ProArt, which is not so bad. And the other one I use, which is the pricey one, and I've got two of them, and I guard them like a child, and that is the Winsor Newton Series 7. Apparently the best brush on the planet. But yeah, I can't spell today. My apologies for all of my typos today. It's not working. Yeah, I like the Winsor Newton Series 7 size 4. It holds its shape really nicely. Other than that, Did you buy the, let me check the ones I have. I don't get the synthetic ones, so maybe there's a difference. I'm not sure. I'm just getting mine now. So this is Renaissance Sable. Huh. Yes, Rosemary and Co. are good. I have a few of those. Yeah, I've got a few of those here. They're not the best. Well, they're not used for detailing though. They're good for washes. I really like my Rubloff. I do not like Da Vinci, Maestro, Kolinsky. I think it's a waste of money. If someone works for them in these classes, you've heard me. Okay, now Ayesha is back. And there we go.
Hi, sorry, I couldn't get hold of you for a second there.
Oh, really? Because I saw it come up.
Yeah, I think, I was trying to find you in the list, and then I realized I can type your name in and I don't have to sort of go through everything. So.
Okay, now let me get this kind of thing normal.
So do we have any questions while people are still in the break?
Well, I was asked what watercolor brushes I like, so we can ask you the same question.
Oh, I really love Cornelison's own brand. So there is a very old art shop called Cornelison in London, and they specialize in things like pigments and gilding. So they're great for illuminators, and they're opposite the British Museum, and they have their own brand of brushes, so I can show you actually.
Mm-hmm. These are nice ones.
They're really nice. They're the best quality, I think. And I use them for illumination and for miniature painting and any watercolor work. So these are Sable Cornelison brushes. And they have different types as well. So I think there is a series that is especially for miniature painting. So you can ask them about that.
And I was just complaining about the Da Vinci series. Do you have same issues? Like, I don't like them.
No, I don't really think I like them either. You sort of think they're going to be good because they're called Da Vinci, but they're really not. They split. I mean, yeah, they're not so great.
Yeah.
Name.
I'd rather put 10 pounds on something else, you know? I've still got some from my days at PSTA. Yeah. They're a good starter brush, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I think they're good. I might use them if I'm, for example, teaching children, because it's
just you said it so diplomatically.
Yeah, because you can get, I think you can get some that are not that expensive, and they're good enough for. I mean, they'll give you a fairly decent line, but if you're doing anything really, really precise, you need something a bit better than that. But just, to give a beginner the feel of a sable brush, they're okay for that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're back, you can continue outlining. I think I'm going to just carry on with my outlining. So I'm going to, first of all, finish off the rest of the body.
So that brush, was that Cornelissen Series 80A Kolinsky Sable? That's very specific.
Yes, it could have been. It could have been. I'm pretty sure I've bought that series before.
And then also it comes down to whatever works best for you too. So
that's true. So if you watch me using the brush, it might be a bit difficult for you to see from when the camera is above, but I'm trying to hold it fairly upright. I know it looks more at an angle from the view you're looking at, but I'm not holding it like a pencil like this, because if I hold it like this, I use the edge of the brush, which makes my lines thicker, and I want to be just using the point. So it's more like that. And also you can control the brush better if you hold it lower. So don't be holding it right up here, but hold it on the metal handle. So as well as outlining my birds, I'm also going to be painting these feathers as well, which you can see in pencil. So what we'll do is we'll do all of the outlines, and then we'll go into a few details on these.
Margaret's asking, do we outline the falcon in one color as well?
Well, what you can do is, you can do if you want to, I'll leave it up to you. But I think what I've done here is change color. Yeah, I've changed color for each section. So this has a green outline. So it's basically the green I used for the wash, but just more concentrated. And this, the body has a light blue outline, and the wing has a dark blue outline. You could choose one color though, and do everything in one color. And then of course the feet have like a browny, pinky outline. And I'm doing the same for the ducks as well. I'm changing the color as I go around. But if you wanted to, you could just choose one color, maybe just like a medium a shade of blue, and use that for everything. I wonder how many people have used blue and how many people have just gone rogue.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see at the end.
Yeah.
I wonder if we have some very colorful birds to admire. We got a question for Charlotte, and it is, how long will the classes be available on YouTube? Forever, yeah, okay, perfect, forever. Well, as long as YouTube's a thing, and I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon.
I'm just going to finish a few of these feathers and then hold my work up to the camera so you can see it more closely. So I hope you can see I've gone over some of these feathers just to make them a bit more prominent and to cover up the pencil line. And I'm going to continue and do the rest of them here as well. I'm now switching to the turquoise so I can paint my leaves and the beaks and the feet. So I'm just making, just mixing this with a little bit of water, but not too much, because I want it to be more concentrated than my wash. You okay there, Laurelie?
Yeah, I'm okay. I forgot my glass water bottle was right beside my foot.
Ah.
Yeah, it's all good. I can't blame the cat this time.
Not accompanying you this week.
No, he's right here. He's right beside me, but he's being very good right now. Actually, I woke him up by kicking over the water bottle.
Oh.
Yeah. It's tough work sleeping 20, I don't know, 2 hours a day. Yeah, now he's awake.
So just right the way through the center of the leaf, there is a stem, which I'm going to emphasize by adding a darker shade. Well, I mean, it's the same color, but just a bit more concentrated.
This greeny turquoise color,
Yes.
a student is asking, what is it?
Good question. I wonder if it's on the back of these paints. It's the brand is Schlenker.
Uh-huh.
It may well be a phthalo turquoise. I think PHALO and then turquoise. It may. I think it's that. But I have mixed. I have a few other blues in my palette, and it's mixed a little bit with them as well.
Okay. So it's mixed. It looks kind of like a phthalo and maybe a hooker's green. I'm not sure.
Possibly. I think I did put a little bit of green in there as well. The brand is Schlenker, and I love their watercolors.
Mm-hmm. They're very nice. I really prefer their pans over their tubes. I'm not sure why. Even though it's the same paint, it's like, I don't know. I found I prefer the pans.
Well, I don't think I've tried their tubes yet. I mean, I've tried their tubes for gouache, but not for watercolor. So after I've outlined the feet, what we're going to do is put a little bit of the details on the bird and maybe some shading on both of them. So I will show you how to do that.
Okay. Someone can see the cat. the top part of the cat.
So I've now finished with my outlines. So next stage, if I pull out the original sheet again, if you look again at your birds, you'll see there are these little spots on them, just little details which sort of on the ceramic, they help to fill out the space and make sure that they just add a little interest and detail and texture to the birds. So we're going to do that. And I'm also going to show you some of the details on the falcon as well. So I'll start with the ducks. So if you now take basically the colour that you used for the body, but a little bit more concentrated this time. And you can start by just putting little random spots on the wings and on the body, like in the picture. I mean, I guess if you wanted to, you could even take a different colour for that. So just so you can see that a bit more clearly. So you can continue doing that. And with the falcon, find the sheet. So I noticed a little bit of white in the wings on here, if you look closely at your copy. So if you have some gouache, or if you don't want to use white, you can use a darker colour just to pick out the shape of the wings a bit more. I am going to take some white gouache. So this is my gouache. And but you could also do this with a darker blue if you're using blue, or a darker shade of whichever colour you're using if you don't have gouache.
If you can, it's okay if you can't, but if you can, is it possible to put the ducks at the top of the screen?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I know that you've got limited space.
So if I maybe just move this out of the way, now put this here. And put
Yeah, they can see it now. You can even push it a little further forward, a smidge, like maybe 5 centimeters.
Okay, so just around the shape of the feathers.
Okay. All right, so I think I'll have to try to make the executive decision here on this. Some students are complaining they can't see what you're doing on the parrot now. So those who are doing ducks, you guys monopolized a lot of the time. So I guess for the time being,
well, I can give you a little close up and then I can try and position it a bit better. So I'm putting a white line around the shape of the feathers, like this. You don't have to use white. You can use a darker color of blue if you've used blue, or really any other color that you want to. But I just think white gouache looks quite nice. It's a nice contrast against the different shades of blue. So just
Yeah, it looks really nice.
Here. And I know that maybe, I'm not sure if everyone has gouache. I think you've all got different materials at home. So I think I'm going to just cover up some of the duck, because I think if people are doing the spots, it's fairly straightforward. And you're right, the people who are doing the falcon haven't seen very much.
Someone wrote their ducks have the chicken pox.
Oh.
Let's see here.
Okay, so just another close-up of the white that I've put on the falcon. So I've just done these 2 rows here of feathers. I haven't done the rest of it yet. But another thing we can do to the birds is give them a little bit of shading. So once you've put some of those details on the falcon, and also on the falcon, you can also outline these little feathers on the tail, like I've done. I've put a green outline around each of them, shaded and outlined. Once you've done adding your details, another thing you can do is just add a little bit of shading if you like. So again, we take the same colors that we used for the wash, just maybe a shade darker, not as dark as the outline. No. I'm going to just test it here. And I'm just going to add a bit of shading under the wing. If you can't see it right now, just bear with me a second and I'll hold this up closer to the camera in a minute. So what I've done is just added a little shadow underneath the wing. And I've done that by taking the same color as the body, but just making it a bit more concentrated, or you can also add a little bit more of a darker color to the mix. And then just washing over the dry color that you've used for the body to create a little shadow. I'm going to do the same thing by the legs as well. And maybe just pick out a few other areas where we can do a little bit of shading on them. Now, I don't think that this is always done in Islamic ceramics.
Which part? Sorry.
The shading.
No, it's not usually.
But I think it's, I mean, we're not actually making a ceramic, it's sort of a painting inspired by a ceramic. And I think when these are on this scale, when they're quite large, or at least large for me, I'm used to very tiny work, it's nice to have a little bit of interest, you know, just a little bit of shading and detail.
Well, actually, when you were talking about putting those kind of polka dots or whatever, that dark blue and the light blue were the same color, just one had more water added to it, and then one was more opaque, and it was then also outlined with like the pure version of it. So the only color that was, even though you've got like 3 shades there, the only color that was actually different was the turquoise. So sometimes you'll see leaves, like in that same tile, you'll have like directional lines, not just little dashes or dots. So that was kind of their way to mix it up a bit.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. We have a question for you. What size do you normally work on or in?
Well, I mean, I'm an illuminator, and I also do, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a miniature painter, but I love miniatures, and I add a few miniature elements to my work, I think. So, I mean, sometimes the work is quite large, and by large, I mean sort of, what size? Maybe A2 or A1 size. But each individual element will be quite small regardless. So like a bird for me might just be the size of, not, you know, half the size of my thumb, just the size of maybe one joint of my thumb. So that's more normal for me, I guess, in a way. So now I'm going to take a bit of the green and just do a bit of shading on the tail as well. Again, just taking a slightly more concentrated shade of my original colour.
My dear, could you move the page up again? Sorry.
Oh.
No problem. We have another question for you. Have you collaborated with other artists?
For my illumination work, no. But I also do some illustration work, and for that I've collaborated with other authors. I'm open to collaborations if anyone is interested. I think it would be fun.
With the Royal Commission, the frontispieces, sorry, I'm butchering it, my apologies.
Yeah.
Did you collaborate with those, or was that just you?
That was just me. I mean, I went to the Royal Bindery, so it was really lovely to discover that in Windsor Castle, there is a full-time bindery where bookbinders work, and they just bind books for the royal family, who give many books as gifts. So I mean, I kind of had a few conversations with them about the papers that we should use and about the designs, but I mean, it was just me working on the frontispiece. I mean, I guess it was a little bit of a collaboration because we had to make the book together. But yeah, I think generally for my own paintings, I tend to work on them alone. Yes, I'm open to collaborations if anyone's interested. Do you collaborate at all, Laurelie?
I'm trying to think. I collaborate. There's an art collective I'm a part of, but on work, no. Well, I haven't, but we have kind of like a round robin where we discuss on a weekly or bi-weekly basis different things we're working on, and I would say that's probably a healthy level of collaboration for me.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, I used to work in a studio with other artists, and I used to, in a similar way, we used to sort of discuss our work together, and I mean, they weren't illuminators. They did all kinds of things, and some were musicians even, or writers, painters. But I think, like you say, it's very healthy just to have those conversations with other creative people.
Yeah, and I think the best situation is to be surrounded by people who are working kind of at the same intensity.
Yeah.
So, if you're more laid back, or if you're more, like type A, it just depends, because if you're working at different speeds or different intensities, it can cause like, it just kind of like you don't have the same energy level, so it can be a little difficult. So
Show you some of the on the back of the neck and at the front of the body as well, underneath the wing, by the legs, and a bit on the feathers in the tail as well. So down here and here, and just on the edges here and here and here. So I'm going to leave that as like that for now, and maybe come back to the ducks for a bit. So if I put this here, maybe that's easier for people to see. And we can do the same thing with the ducks if you haven't started doing that already. Just taking a slightly more concentrated version of your watercolor. And just gently shading it.
So one of the students has asked, what kind of logic do you follow when shading? Like, how do you choose where to put the shadows?
Oh, that's a very good question. Because generally for this type of work, I'm kind of doing it, I think, the way I might do it for miniature painting, where it's not a realistic type of shading. So we're not really thinking about the light source coming from a particular direction and, you know, creating shadows. It's more sort of shading in a decorative way to maybe emphasize certain features of the work. So I've put it underneath the wing just to sort of lift that wing from the rest of the body. And I'm going to do it in the feathers here as well, just to emphasize them as well. But it's not really a sort of naturalistic kind of shading. And actually for the flowers, when we shade the flowers, we often shade so that, again, it's not necessarily naturalistic or realistic. We shade so that it looks as though the flower is illuminated with light. So the light part is usually in the center, and then the sort of shadow comes towards the tips or the ends of the flowers. Because I guess these are not really realistic images. They're sort of a bit otherworldly, and there are many of them, maybe not so much the animals, but they're often meant to remind people of paradise, you know, and be reflections of paradise in the Quran. So they're not really intended to imitate nature, but more to reflect the perfect beauty of paradise. Which is also why, if you look at the flowers in these tiles, many of them are unrecognizable. So they're not flowers that you would see in nature. You can't really identify daffodils or roses. And some of them you can, but most of them are really fantastical because they're supposed to be kind of flowers that are out of this world. It's also like with the miniature painting, we, as well as not really having a realistic type of shading, you don't have realistic perspective either. So if you look at a Persian miniature or an Indian miniature, maybe some architecture with some people and a garden, you can see everything at the same time. You can see outside in the garden, but you can also see like a plan view of what's inside the house. You can see the background, you can see the foreground, and almost everything is given the same prominence because it's kind of, it's supposed to reflect a reality that's sort of beyond time and space. So in a way, not this world, but something otherworldly. So I hope that helps.
A nice explanation.
What do you think, Laurelie?
I think when I mean, I agree with you until we get to the hunting scenes.
All right. Okay.
Pardon me?
Okay.
So like at the bottom of, or actually our falcons, for example, eating the pigeon. I'm thinking of there's this one mosque in Bukhara, I think, and it has a simorgh eating a deer or a gazelle, something like that. So sometimes they are kind of propaganda tools also in a way, which I know it sounds a little rough to say that, but these pieces were commissioned by sultans and by great leaders. And so often they will depict, you know, one nation or one tribe or group of peoples that they had conquered as kind of a weaker animal, and they being the, you know, stronger, triumphant one, like a falcon, for example, or
I
a
think,
lion.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, having animals around the mosque anyway is quite rare, I would say.
It's rare. It is rare. Yeah. But the ones I have seen, it's usually peacocks, which I'm not sure in terms of symbolism. I've seen peacocks and I've seen deer. So there's got to be some kind of spiritual significance to that, I think. But I'm not sure about what those ones mean actually.
So just to show you a little bit closer of what I've been doing on these stocks. The shading underneath the wing and around the feathers as well. And if you want to, you can make it more prominent by just adding a bit more color or layering the color. So putting on a little wash of the shadow and then just increasing the intensity with more washes, but once it's dry. So don't add the color once it's still wet.
So in the last couple of minutes, do any of you have any questions before this session ends?
Oh, I should just say before I forget that Charlotte asked if people can turn their cameras on at the end and hold up their work. So,
we will do that. We will. I'm just giving the chance for the questions first.
Yes, of
before
course.
we do.
Just to prepare everyone.
Okay. And just because of the Zoom glitch where we have one participant's name a few times, if I didn't get to you, it's not because I didn't want to. It's just sometimes all of the names look the same, so I couldn't pick out when I went back who said what. So please re-ask your question if you have. Okay. I don't want to rush you, but would you like to do the gallery share now? Are you ready? I'm just asking if you would like. Oh, this is the.
Oh, for me, yes, I'm fine. Sorry, I thought you were putting that question to the students.
No, to you. But I do have one student asking about the kingfisher that you do have on your website and how you got that intense orange color.
Oh, it would have been a color I mixed. I mean, I used this, probably mixed with something else, but I used this color, which is cadmium orange. So I don't know if that helps, but you can try wintering Eton cadmium orange. It's probably mixed with something else as well, but I couldn't remember off the top of my head what I used, but that might be a good start.
Did you open your gallery view yet?
Oh, not yet, no.
Yes, there's lots of people sharing their birds, their falcons, their ducks.
Oh, fantastic. They're gorgeous.
That's amazing.
Oh, they're wonderful.
Oh my God, they've done a better job than I have. Definitely. I love them. Let's have a look. Change the screen.
Oh, wow. So beautiful.
Backgrounds.
Nice red ducks in there. They're fantastic.
They're absolutely gorgeous.
You've got some purple ones. This is wonderful. This is fantastic. And we have Eli and Nuri. Look at your wonderful parrot. Looks fantastic.
Stunning. Absolutely amazing.
Charlotte, let me know if do you want me to screen share now?
It's called Anagasa.
I know, that looks so strange. Yeah, so just warm thanks from me to everyone who's joined us this evening, and thank you. I'd like to say as well, thank you to everyone who sent lovely emails throughout the week. Everybody at Leighton House really appreciates your encouragement and your support, and it's absolutely wonderful to see your work this evening too. So yes, thank you very much. And just to reiterate that these classes with Ayesha, they form a suite of classes. So in total, there will be 8 classes, 4 led by Ayesha and 4 led by Laurelie, and they are all going up onto our Leighton House YouTube account. And we have no plans to take them down either. So enjoy at your leisure. And the accompanying worksheets are all going up onto our Leighton House website. So you just need to Google Leighton House and then look for the tab that says Learning from Home, and they will all be there. So and just carry on following the classes and sharing your work. And we're absolutely delighted that the classes are bringing everyone so much pleasure. And just my thanks again to Ayesha and Laurelie. It's just a wonderful way to pass 2 hours in the company of such exceptional artists and teachers. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Charlotte, and thank you, Laurelie, as well, for just facilitating everything and making it go so smoothly. And thanks everyone for joining us. Had a lovely time.
I wanted to reiterate to tag Ayesha _illuminates and Leighton House Museum if you'd like to share on social media so we can see what you make. And then just quickly, let me stop sharing because I forgot. 1 second. I'm going to share again where you can find everything. Give me a second. Let me get back here. So what I just shared now is where you can locate artists and makers, which is where all of the handouts are going to be. And then for the YouTube, I have just shared it again.
Thank you, Laura.
Here we go. Oops. I'll reshare it again. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Oh, it looks correct, actually. No, here we go. There we go. So now, fantastic. There you go. So you have everything you need. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.